A very warm welcome to you at home. I am Musam Khalipi and this is Afroshowbiz News, the show that brings you all things art and entertainment from around Africa. Now, we love hearing from you, so send us an email at afroshowbiznews@sabc.co.za. Also follow us on Twitter. Our handle is @AfroShowbizNews. Let's have a look at stories making headlines this week. A celebration of traditional dance and music to take place in Egypt. A theatre piece with the focus on protest is currently in the State Theatre. And the 35th Durban International Film Festival is currently underway. Moez Street is one of Cairo's oldest and historic streets, known for its cultural and architectural richness. Now, a celebration of traditional dance and music aiming to rejuvenate Egypt is currently underway.
Organizers of traditional music and dance show in Cairo's Moez Street invited a number of ill children to enjoy the cultural richness of the street earlier in the week. This was an effort to relaunch Egypt as a tourist destination to both locals and foreigners. Those who were just dismissed from hospital, some cured and others still receiving treatment with their families will come here to get a feel of the popular and traditional sites in their country. They are used to being invited to hotels and such, but this time the tourism minister said they should go somewhere to get a feel of their own culture. Almost 1 kilometer long, Sharu Ak Moez or Al Moez is named after Al Moez Lid-Din Ilah, who is the 4th caliph of the Fatim dynasty. Egypt began renovating the street buildings in 1997, turning the area into an open-air museum of cultural events. Waigud Abdullah, a visitor to Moez, said the historic atmosphere is easily sensed in the area.
The place itself, when you enter it, you can sense the history of your own country. Even the buildings are made from stones, carved in a way that shows Islamic history. It's different from any other place. It's a unique spirit.
In 2008, when the renovations were completed, Al Moez was declared a pedestrian zone only between 8 a.m. and 11 p.m.
Young aspiring comedians have gathered at an audition venue in Lagos, Nigeria. More than 300 people have shown up for the 3-day comedy audition.
The country is looking for the newest funny men. Contestants will be judged by the country's top comedians. They are all expected to tell their own original jokes. Hopefully, no one will come back later to claim they told those jokes first.
It's not a structured industry, but how it's affecting the lives of people positively is very, very nice.
Repentant comedian Bright Opocha, also known as Basket Mouth in Nigeria, has his own brand of performances. These include Basket Mouth Uncensored, African Kings of Comedy, Lord of the Rings staged in Nigeria, the United States of America and in the United Kingdom.
One time we were doing this show and they were booing us, and I told the DJ to stop playing, and I told the group to leave the stage, and I started insulting everybody. And I realized that I had more passion, because it was a transition between rap music, I was getting booed, and the next thing I started insulting everybody that was booing us, and everyone was laughing, and they enjoyed it.
Basket Mouth has toured all over the world. Recently, he has been criticized after he posted a joke on his Facebook page about rape. The joke compared European girls to African girls and implied African girls should be raped. He says he uses his work to address topics that are often taboo. Many young performers hope they can achieve the same success as that of Basket Mouth.
The Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week Cape Town is African Fashion International Spring-Summer Fashion Platform, which takes place annually around the same time every year. The 3-day event will take place at the Cape Town International Convention Center. Now, for more on this, we are joined by designer Marianne Fassler and Sizwe Nzimande, Group Marketing at AFI. Hello and welcome to Afroshowbiz News.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming. Now, Sizwe, tell us what we can expect this year at Cape Town Fashion Week.
Well, one of the drives for us as African Fashion International is to always strive to develop the industry and not just focus on the fashion. Mm-hmm. Of course, the fashion is our cherry, the fashion is our focal point, but we try and do the sort of behind-the-scenes stuff, the commercial stuff. And one of the things that we'll be doing this year is we'll be having our fashion talks, which is a big focus on the industry and the strength of the industry and the growth of the industry. Mm-hmm. We'll be premiering an interesting movie which breaks the stereotypes and the mold around what fashion is. There's always this perception that fashion is about people under the age of 30. We are premiering a movie by a gentleman called Ari Cohen, which was a 4-year documentary focusing on what we call advanced style, or what is called advanced style, focusing on people who continue their fashion creativity beyond the commercially stereotypical age of 30.
Mm-hmm. Now, Marianne, this is not your first time at Cape Town Fashion Week. What can we expect from you this year?
It actually is my first time at Cape Town Fashion Week, but I always participate in Johannesburg. Well, I'm doing a resort collection, which is, I just wanted to do something a little bit more light-hearted, but still very intense, like all my work is like very intense. But we're doing a resort collection, so it's going to be fun. It's going to be light. It's going to be a lovely prelude to summer.
All right. Now, what was the inspiration behind the resort?
Well, you know, I was thinking, shall I bring Josie to Cape Town, and how do I do this? So it's pretty African. It's pretty, it's quite sophisticated, very worked, but it's great fun.
Now, tell us a bit about how many designers will be participating at this year's event.
We'll have 25 designers throughout the 3-day Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week Cape Town on 15 different shows, 15 different runway put together. So it's a decent sized show. We're happy with it, and we're happy with the number of designers that we have. And of course, we've got a range of designers, from some of our newbies to some of our more experienced sort of household names like Marianne. So it's a combination of young and up and coming and some really sort of iconic household names.
Now, the AFI is celebrating freedom under the pillars of fashion and art. Tell us about what that exactly is.
Well, we always try and couple our fashion weeks, Mercedes-Benz fashion weeks, to a specific theme. Our theme this year is fashion, art and design, also working in conjunction, of course, with Cape Town. As you know, Cape Town is the design capital. So we're tying in with that, and it's creative freedom in the spaces of fashion, art and design.
Now, Marianne, what is the inspiration behind your designs? I've had a look at some of your designs, and what is the inspiration behind that?
Well, I try, I don't know, how does one say it? I'm trying to capture something which is uniquely me, which is uniquely where I come from, and which is always fresh and always different. So I don't vacillate, you know. If you think you've seen them before, you probably have, but they just reinvent it in another way. So, of course, South Africa is my inspiration.
And now, briefly, what can people expect from you in the near future?
Well, I'm going to be also participating in Malaysian Fashion Week. Then I come back and I do the Joburg Fashion Week in October. We're busy. There's always something happening.
All right. Well, thank you so much, guys, for coming. It was a pleasure having you on the show. That was designer Marianne Fessler and Sizwe Nzimande from the AFI talking to us about Cape Town Fashion Week. This year's Carter's International Music Festival is themed after the 2010 Tunisia uprisal. International and local stars were there to entertain the crowds.
It's the 5th anniversary of the Carthage International Music Festival. This year the theme is Sovereigns, which is a direct reference to the 2010 and 2011 uprising in Tunisia. Many local artists, politicians and members of government have come to attend.
There were many moments that reminded me of the revolution, especially the last days of the revolution. This is necessary to see art referring.
This year, the festival left a number of people disappointed as the organizing committee suffered logistical problems. The Minister of Arts and Culture in that country was among many who were disappointed.
As a spectator, I was expecting a high level because I am a fan of Anwar Brahim. I was well prepared, and that's why the show pleased me a lot.
Nevertheless, acclaimed artist in Tunisia Anwar Brahim's return to the Carthage stage brought smiles to many in the audience.
Anwar Brahim has not been here for ages. He has not graced this stage for 22 years. He came back with an elite caliber of international musicians and orchestra, each one with a different nationality.
A number of other well-known artists taking part include the singer and songwriter Stromae from Belgium, whose show is sold out, whilst George Benson, Nancy Aram, Lebanese Marcel Khalifa are also to be part of their celebrations. The Carthage Festival, which was first held in 1964, will stage many concerts throughout July and August that will cover many musical styles.
We will now go for a quick ad break, but do stay tuned for more. South Africa experiences a lot of service delivery protests. There are now a few subjects of stage plays currently taking place at the State Theatre in Pretoria. The musical is the work of fiction that is set in Mpumalanga.
Protest is a new theatre production. It explores the difficulties of Mpumalanga community. These include the lack of service delivery from those they have put in power. Community members organize themselves and ask the mayor to meet them at the local stadium to discuss the problems they are facing.
People are suffering. The mayor is building mansions.
Even though fictional, protest highlights some of the events that take place in modern-day South Africa. All this is told with characters representing all the sectors of the conflict, that including politicians, activists, shopkeepers, workers and unemployed civilians. The play tries to examine why South Africans are so quick to resort to violence and whether the country's legacy of violence from the apartheid era can be shaken off.
No, you will not deny me the right to speak. No one will deny me the right to speak. Not even my own mother. I won't touch for this right.
The play started yesterday and ends in August.
A film documentary titled Framed, which explores the West's fascination with rescuing Africa, will be released in the United States this week.
Framed, a new documentary in the making, takes a critical look at activism in Africa and the representation of aid recipients as victims. It investigates the West's relationship to Africa and questions why it doesn't focus its aid efforts on local communities in the US.
The documentary features Kenyan photojournalist Boniface Mwangi, Kenyan writer Binyavanga Wainyaina, and South African-born educator Zin Makubane, who asks a range of questions about the selling of suffering.
It was saying the project of independence is over.
Produced by Cassandra Herman and Catherine Mathers, zooms on how the Western's image and media have created a single narrative of Africa as a continent that can't help itself.
The context is never again will we ever do this.
The annual Just for Laughs Comedy Festival in Montreal, Canada includes Africans in this year's lineup. The Canadian festival will host South Africans John Flismus and Paul Modugwana, as well as Nigeria's Basketmouth.
Really clever, you know. He's telling you all about how it's very hard for a man to go to heaven if he's rich and drives off in an S-Class Mercedes.
July marks the arrival of the annual Just for Laughs Comedy Festival in Montreal, Canada. And this time around, African comedy will be represented by South African stand-up comedians John Flismus and Mpo Pops, as well as Nigeria's Basketmouth.
We've arranged our own cash and transit heists. We've also arranged unsafe public transport, and we also have planned a couple of collapses for public works. All of these
John Flismus returns to Just for Laughs to perform in the Talk of the Fest, one of the festival's premier club shows, while Basketmouth will make his festival debut at various clubs during the week.
Now, for those of you who don't know, Sebenzi is ancestral work. That's where we normally kill something. just for control, just.
Mpopop's Modikwani entered a local television show entitled So You Think You're Funny, where the general public first noticed him. He then went on to the club circuit in Johannesburg, making a name for himself and sharing the stage with some of the big names in South African comedy industry. The Just for Laughs Montreal Comedy Festival is the world's largest comedy event and attracts about 1.25 million people every summer. It has been 30 years since its inception. The festival features a number of outdoor events, live comedy, circuits and arts with clowns and acrobat, slideshows and more.
And now joining us in studio is renowned comedian John Fismus, who will soon be jetting off to Canada to take part in the festival. Hello and welcome to Afroshowbiz News.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Now you will be traveling to Canada soon, and tell us how you were selected to be part of this festival.
You know, I don't know. I got a phone call and then they said, would you like to go to Montreal with Basketmouth and Pops? And then I just said yes. So I don't know who saw what, but someone saw something, and you know people talk.
Of course. Now, what can audiences expect to see from you at the festival?
I learned quite a long time ago not to try and be like the international acts, but rather to speak about being South African. So I'm going to do a lot of comedy about being South African and what's going on at the moment in South Africa.
All right. Now, you have been in the comedy scene for quite some time now. How have you managed...
5 decades. No, I don't know. It's been long.
How have you managed to sustain your career?
I think I get bored really easily, so I try and reinvent things as often as I can. I don't believe in getting older. That's a bad idea because it ends in death almost 100% of the time. Yeah.
Now, in terms of platforms in South Africa, do you think South African audiences embrace comedy, or is this something that we still need to work on?
No, audiences are brilliant. In this, I think South African audiences are amongst the best in the world because South Africans are generally very honest with each other, and we generally can take quite we can laugh at ourselves. I think in other countries I found audiences are more conservative, but here I think comedy is necessary because we have like a tough history and a tough social situations, so comedy is very necessary. Yeah.
Now, John, you're also taking part in Mass Hysteria in August.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about what that is exactly.
So Mass Hysteria is a group of comedians who decided that perhaps we need a new government, and it should be a government of comedians. So we put together a cabinet, a comedy cabinet, and each minister or comedian has a portfolio that they have to look after. So this year I'm very lucky to have the portfolio of public attacker. We felt that this public protector is not helping us in any way. Public shouldn't have protection. We should be attacked more. It'll make us tougher and smarter and quicker on our feet.
So now how do you plan on changing this?
Well, I'm going to rearrange a few things. I want public transport to be more dangerous. I need some more buildings to collapse, only on Sundays when no one's around. It just makes us a little more on our feet. There's no point telling people you're not going to do load shedding, then you load shed, then no one's prepared. If you tell people, listen, we're load shedding from Monday, and then you don't load shed, at least people are prepared. So this is my plan.
No, John, who else is part of the cabinet?
Funny enough, Pops Modikwane is I think he's involved in the youth aspect. Joey Rasdeen, I believe, has got something to do with hair care. There's Nick Rabinowitz, Chester Missing, a very famous political puppet. He's going to be involved. Tumi Morake, who's, I think, one of the best female comics in the country. She has a very big portfolio. I forget what it involves, but it may involve having children with foreigners. So Ndumiso Lindi, some people know him as the Rooster. So that's going to be a great event, and I think that's in Johannesburg from the 6th to 9th of August. And I know that there's a Cape Town show, and there's also PE.
Now, John, you've mentioned some really, really acclaimed comedians in the country. How has that helped build your career as a comedian?
I'm not sure that other people have helped me build my career, but I think it's always good to associate with good quality. You should work with good comics. I think that's very important. Bad comedy is terrible and must be destroyed at all costs. The way that Hamas has spoken about Israel, I speak the same way about bad comedy. We need to get rid of it as soon as possible.
Speaking of bad comedy, what do you think are some of the challenges of comedians in South Africa?
I think being original is very important. I think listening to the audience is really important. And I think paying attention to what's going on around you. Don't try to be an American comic. Do not speak like someone from from the States, because that's not where you come from. Be original and be local. I think that would be my biggest concern, is that you mustn't try and be Chris Rock. Try be yourself.
Right. Yeah, well, John, it was a pleasure having you on the show.
It was a pleasure being here.
For coming.
I need a small rest and a shower now and a cry. I've loved every second of being with you.
All right, thank you so much.
Cheers.
Now, Kenyan author Okwiri Odwa has won the 2014 Kane Prize for African Writing. This is one of Africa's leading literary awards.
Okwiri's winning short story is entitled My Father's Head from Fist, Famine and Potluck. Her article explores the narrator's difficulty in dealing with the loss of a father and looks at the themes of memory, loss and loneliness. The narrator works in an old people's home and comes into contact with the priest, giving her the courage to recall her buried memories of her father. Judges like Jackie Kay praised the story of Okwiri and said she's a writer they were all excited to have discovered. My Father's Head can also be described as an uplifting story about mourning. In this book, she also exercises control even though the story is subtle, tender and moving. Readers of this book also said that this story is the kind of story you want to return to the minute you finish it. When Okwiri was announced as the winner, her prize money close to 1.5 million rand was also announced at a dinner held on that evening at the Bodleian Library in Oxford, London. She has in the past directed in the inaugural Writivism Literary Festival in Kampala in Uganda in 2013. Her novella The Dream Chasers was highly commended in the Commonwealth Book Prize in 2012. She is a 2014 MacDowell Colony Fellow and is currently working on her debut novel.
This week, we take a look at a book titled Memoirs of a Born Free, Reflections on the Rainbow Nation by Malaika wa Azania. It questions how free is born free, as often called.
Memoirs of a Born Free is a journey back through the life of Malaika wa Azania as she recounts the experience of growing up through the end of apartheid and South Africa's transition into the democratic nation. Her story is not a reflection of freedom. It is an epitome of the ongoing struggle for liberation and emancipation from mental slavery. She, however, through the Thabo Mbeki Foundation, found reason to believe in the capacity of the people to escape the nervous condition that defines black life. She continues to serve the African Youth Coalition with dedication as she believes today that another Africa is possible. Malaika wa Azania, a fierce debater and an activist devoted to pursuing the African Renaissance agenda, is the founder of a Pan-Africanist journal, African Voices of the Left, and a columnist for the Thinker magazine. She is also the director of her own writing company, Pen and Azania Revolution.
You are still watching Afroshowbiz News. Now, if you've missed any of our shows, be sure to catch us on our YouTube channel by simply searching for Afroshowbiz News. Time now for another ad break. Welcome back. Popular international dance show Strictly Come Dancing, which partners South African celebrities, is back on our screens. The first show of the season played on SABC 3 last night. The entire country will finally get to see some of their favorite TV personalities, which include Boiti Tulo, Jonathan Boyton-Lee, Kanye Mbawu, Steve Ngesi, and Leanne Dlamini set the dance floor on fire. Strictly Come Dancing is a South African dance reality competition series based on the British show of the same name. The show sees celebrities partnered with professional Latin and ballroom dancers come together each week on perfecting a dance routine, with public voting deciding a weekly elimination. Each week during a live show, viewers are asked to vote for their favorite couple and one couple is eliminated. In the season finale, 2 couples dance off to win the title and a cash prize. The judging panel for the new series remains the same, with Michael Windick, Samantha Pio, and Debucho Khobokwe returning to their seats on the reality set. The 35th Durban International Film Festival kicked off earlier in the week. The festival will feature 250 screenings of cutting-edge cinema from around the world, with special focus on South Africa and Africa. Durban will be lit by the glow of the silver screen in 9 venues across the city. It will include contemporary cinema from around the planet, including 69 feature films, 60 documentaries, 57 short films, and 19 surf films. This year's lineup of world-class cinema will focus on 20 years of freedom and democracy in South Africa, as well as of contemporary British film. The opening night saw the world premiere of Hard to Get, the electrifying feature debut from South African filmmaker Zinduli, who has already received critical acclaim for his short films.
Barely making a living. Integrity is a luxury few can afford. I don't take loyalty for granted. I need people I can trust.
Other high-profile South African films being showcased include the thriller Cold Harbour and Between Friends, which recounts a reunion between old varsity friends, Hear Me Move, which is a dance movie, and Love the One You Love, which explores relationships between young South Africans.
Everyone's got a past, including you.
Special focus will be made to celebrate 20 years of democracy. The result is a slate of films including Carlo Matabane's Nelson Mandela, The Myth and Me, and Miners Shot Down, Rehat Desai's devastating account of Marikana.
Killings like these led South Africans to support Nelson Mandela and his struggle for freedom.
DIFF is the largest of Southern Africa's film festival and the most important film festival in Africa. This year will see a record number of local films being shown during the festival, 40 feature-length films and 38 short films, most of them receiving their world premieres on Durban screens. South Africa's Ethel Fugard won the 2014 Premium Imperial International Award in Tokyo, Japan. The award ceremony took place this week.
South African playwright Ethel Fugard has scooped a major international arts prize amid his return to the stage after 15 years, which is the Premium Imperial Prize for theatre or film, one of 5 categories for which it is awarded.
Good God, I put my slippers on the wrong feet.
The award coincides with his return to the stage as an actor in his play The Shadow of the Hummingbird, which premiered in the US, and it has since come to South Africa and is running at the Fugard Theatre, where the premiere took place last Wednesday, following previews that have run since last week. The Premium Imperial is a global arts prize awarded annually by the Japan Art Association. Laureates receive a prize of 1.5 million rands, a diploma, and a medal presented by honorary patron of the association, Prince Hitachi.
I want to live once more in one full of magic and splendor.
It is about that time where we have to say goodbye. However, you can catch the repeats every Sunday at 2 a.m. and again at 1:30 p.m. Now, from me and the rest of the Afroshowbiz news team, it's thank you and goodbye.